Good morning, guys. I hope you're well. I've got some news, or rather Flight Simulator have got some news about 2024, and it addresses some of the things that some of the questions or concerns that I raised, or some of the features I felt needed to be included in 2024 in order to make it a valid update. So stay to the end, guys, because there's a lot to cover, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about here, but also a bit of a Brucey bonus for you that I wanted to highlight. The key thing is, guys, what do you think? All right, these are just my opinions. I'm floating them to you. I'm trying to get you to think about it in a different way and not just blasé, accept everything that they say as being A, gospel, or B, groundbreaking, because it's not going to be. There are going to be issues. We all know there are. And that's not poking fun at 𝐃𝐨𝐳𝐵's capabilities. It's just reality of software development, especially when you're doing groundbreaking stuff like they are here. So, yes, let's take a look, and I'm going to include this link up here in the description below. This seems to be the best place at the moment to get updates on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So let's jump in and see what we've got here. So we've already discussed most of this. Most purchases will be transferable, which is good. Right, so we're going from here down. Will Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 have improved loading times? Now, this is something I touched on in my previous video. One of the biggest priorities for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is to improve the simulator's data management. One of the major changes to the simulator's architecture being made is using cloud streaming to help ensure that the client becomes thin. We'll discuss that in a second. When users load into the sim, only the textures, meshes, and map data that they need will be downloaded to avoid unnecessary bandwidth and disk space usage. This will keep the minimum specifications of the sim as low as it is now, will also reduce the update and load times. So I've already called out a couple of YouTubers who have been quote unquote fear-mongering about the performance improvements that are going to be required, basically rendering your old PC null and void. I didn't think that was going to be the case. If anything, I was leaning towards smaller updates, quicker loading times, improved FPS, and I still think that's going to be the case. So it's good that they've addressed this, because it's definitely heading in that direction. Now, one thing that does concern me, and always has done, is cloud streaming. I'm not a big fan of the cloud. Recently, I forget now who it was, but one of the big cloud providers went down, and hundreds, thousands of websites or email accounts became null and void in an instant. And it does sort of bring you to, it's like the weakest link in a chain. So everyone is going to be dependent on their systems, their servers, and if they were to go down for any reason, then we're all going to lose access to the game. But just bear that in mind. It's not win-win situation. It's it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I suppose. In addition to that, I've always felt that when people put all their data in one location, then that's an incentive for hackers to focus on that one location, rather than trying to find each and every single one of us and hack into our systems. Now, theoretically, all they need to do is just find the right couple of clouds, and all of our data is there in one fell swoop. And we've seen lots of data breaches in the last couple of years where huge numbers of people's data has been exposed. So, I mean, cloud streaming, although yes, theoretically it takes the load off of the user, it also makes us 100% dependent on their systems, their security, and their capability for delivering seamless data transitions for us to enjoy our games. So it's a double-edged sword, but if they do it right and they do it securely and safely, then I think this is a positive. So fingers crossed that'll be the case, but only time will tell, guys. Only time will tell. Will there be airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? Not being funny, I think that's probably a ridiculous question, because obviously the answer is going to be yes. And they haven't announced the full list of aircraft available in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, but it will include several new airliners. And they're certain that players will be very excited when they see the full list of available aircraft later this year. Thing is, right, are they going to introduce the same level of flight model and data that they did in the first one? Because if they do, then everyone's going to be... A lot of people have said to me, and I agree with them, they wish they hadn't bought the deluxe version of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 because effectively the aircraft that they got with that are very poor quality. Well, not very poor quality, they look lovely, but inside they're very limited, they're very basic. So I'd like to see more information on how detailed are these airliners going to be. They've recently released the ATR. It hasn't gone down well. When it released, it's supposed to be an expert version. When it released, it was full of bugs, absolutely full of bugs. There's no proper manual for it. The video series tutorial that they put up was, in my opinion, a little bit shallow, a little bit rushed, it felt. So yeah, not impressed. They're going to have to do a much better job with their aircraft if they want to be respected in the community. That's my humble opinion. What do you think? How many people are working on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? We have over 500 team members across several teams who are working to make Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 the biggest and most advanced consumer flight simulator ever released. Now, I highlighted a question about what are they going to do with their man resources in order to still support 2020 while still working on 2024. They haven't addressed that, but at least we've got a bit of a number. So let's say 500 team members who are working to make 2024 the biggest and most advanced. So my question to them now would be, well, how many people do you have working on 2020 once 2024, from this point on? Is there like 500, 250, 100, 50, 10? What are we looking at here? How much support is 2020 going to get? That's quite important for a lot of people, because the general vibe out there right now, I mean, the number of people who bought Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was enormous. It was the hottest thing on earth. It really was. 2024 is not going to sell that well. Not as well as 2020, because a lot of people are saying, I'm quite happy with 2020. I don't see the need for 2024 right now. So, it's important to people who are going to not jump onto 24 straight away to know that their game is still being supported properly. Will the missions and activities in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 be like video game missions? The missions and activities that are being included in MS in 24 are authentic recreations of those performed in real-life aviation fields. We are working with a variety of organisations such as firefighting, search and rescue, and Coast Guard organisations across the planet to make these activities as accurate as possible. Not realistic, not simulated, but accurate. So read into that what you will. I imagine they're going to be a little bit linear. There's only going to be one outcome. You either do it the way you're supposed to do it, or you don't succeed, is basically what I think it's going to be. And you have to try the mission again. But we'll see. If they're smart, they're going to have dynamic missions with variations and stuff. And, I would love to be able to have a career as, working for the Coast Guard and just trying to save people's lives and stuff. That would be quite interesting. I'd be well up for that. Will there be improvements to the core simulator technology in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? The development team is improving almost every aspect of the simulator. Some examples include improved multi-threading to improve performance. I've already spoken about this. I reckon they can squeeze out 25 to 50% greater FPS on your existing system without you having to do anything. They just improve multi-threading in order to improve performance, and your gameplay experience will improve as a result. So I've already highlighted this. It's very good news. Faster download, load and installation speeds. We've covered this. This is to do with the cloud and thinning out the client. Improved aerodynamics and physics simulations. And that's something else that I highlighted as being quite important. Improved aircraft systems, including electrical, pneumatic, fuel and hydraulics. Now, whether or not that means the existing aircraft that are in 2020 or the new aircraft that they're going to add as part of 2024, either way, that's a positive. That's something that we wanted to see as well. New failure and wear and tear system. Now, this is what I was talking about. I think A2A have had influence on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 because A2A are all about persistent aircraft. And I put a query up or a question up for you to say what was the most important thing, and the persistent aircraft with failures, wear and tear systems was about probably the second most important thing that you guys clicked on. So I'm glad to see that, because for me, arguably this is the most important thing. This would be a game changer in 2020. If they were going to bring anything from 2024 and add it to 2020, I would hope it would be this. But my belief is, and I'm still waiting for confirmation from A2A or Microsoft, A2A, I think, have had an influence on this decision. And I think we're going to see the persistent aircraft that I have been asking for since day one. Deeper and wider avionics systems, that's good. A lot of you really hardcore pilots out there are going to appreciate this. You want that detail and accuracy, and it's not quite there yet. Cockpit tablet available by default. So this is interesting. We've seen this popping up in quite a few aircraft recently, and obviously Microsoft have picked up on the fact that A, it's quite realistic, B, it's very useful because you can put a lot of menu options and settings, etc. in the tablet without making the interface look messy. So it's really quite cool. Will there be changes to the scenery and terrain in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? We are improving the global digital twin in 3 different ways. Global digital twin. The static world. Improved ground details. Lovely. 3D tessellated ground materials. Fantastic. That means objects on the floor like tractors and things like that. Enhanced 3D trees with greatly increased diversity. Now, I've already mentioned that in the trailer we could see that the seasons were there. So this is what we're going to see. Tessellated ground materials, we're going to see snow in the winter, etc. Improved cliffs. Now, I imagine this is... I mean, it seems such a random thing to say, but improved cliffs, I imagine, is going to be part of the missions update. So that's probably why it's there. Now, this is interesting. This is something I highlighted as well. Animal herds and migrations. I said if they can do this, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be game-changing again. It's going to give people a reason to go out and do, sightseeing tours and stuff. So I'm really excited to see what they can do with this. Worldwide live ship traffic. Now, that is quite a nice addition as well. That's really going to make the place feel more lived in and realistic. Accurate live air traffic models and liveries. Now, I was under the impression that this was supposed to be part of 2020 already. A lot of you have highlighted that you want to see improvements here, so that'll cheer you up, I'm sure. But yes, it's definitely been improved here, which is quite interesting, because I was under the impression this was supposed to be working, so maybe they're just going to make it work better. Improved vehicle traffic. You know exactly what this means. How many vehicles have driven into you whilst you're trying to taxi to the runway, etc., etc., etc. That's quite exciting. That will make it feel more realistic as well. Dynamic worlds, we've already touched on full seasons, the Aurora Borealis and the Aurora Australis. Tornadoes and storms. Now, I know we've got scientific exploration as part of the mission, so this is probably what's going to introduce that. But if you've ever seen a storm on the news and you thought, oh wow, fired up your flight simulator and flown into it, you're like, yeah, it's kind of a bit windy, but it's never really impressed. Well, now you can really see the power of Mother Earth. This could be fantastic, or it could be quite embarrassing. They're going to have to, flying through a tornado is going to have to, if you excuse my French, F up your plane. It's going to have to pick you up and drop you into the floor. It's going to hurt. It's going to be violent. It's going to be scary and intimidating. Otherwise, they've not done a good job. So, hopefully that's good news for you guys. I did say there was going to be a bit of a bonus at the end. I was trying to find the video here. I'm not sure I can find it. So I can't find it on this PC. I was hoping to be able to get into the marketplace and have a look. But you've got 1 week to download this aircraft. So I'll try and take a shot of it and add it to this video. But yeah, it's a new aircraft. In a week's time, it's going to cost you £15. Right now, it's free for a week. So definitely log in, check it out. Grab yourself an absolute bargain. It doesn't really matter if it's good or not because it's free. But it actually looks pretty detailed, as all the aircraft do. And, the more aircraft I have to choose from, the more options I have on what flight I'm going to do next. And the same applies to you. Guys, I'm going to continue keeping my finger on the pulse of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and try and keep you updated. I'll put the links in the description below, so if you want to have a look yourself, you're more than welcome to. But I will do my best to bring you news on this as soon as it comes in to me. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care. Goodbye for now.